And now we welcome Zarina Zabrisky, American journalist. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hi there. So great to speak to you today.
So we hear that there is a conglomeration of Russian troops at the border near Sumy and Kharkiv. And according to the Minister of Defense, Umerov, there is a new group of Russians that have moved to this direction. They're planning a new attack. Are you able to tell us a little bit more about this?
Yes, right. Thank you for bringing this up. Yesterday, Ukraine was quite shocked by this announcement. The numbers are indeed very impressive, that overall Russia has about 500,000 troops near Ukraine, and they're bringing in 200, 300,000 more. While we don't know the exact numbers conglomerating on the direction that I'm talking about today, which is the Sumy region and also Chernihiv region, or Oblast, as they call regions here. This is north of Kharkiv region, of which everybody is talking today. We know that there is a significant amount. So what might be happening there, according to many experts, both Ukrainian and Western, this could be, in fact, a deflecting maneuver. And as the military were telling me yesterday, it's about who is able to keep a secret longer and who is able to basically trick somebody. So we are to see what is going to happen, but the numbers indeed are alarming.
And would you say that in the light of these developments on the front line, the recent suggestions that Russia might be considering a ceasefire, perhaps a freezing on the conflict, could that be genuine? And also, what should be the follow-up? Should anyone believe that negotiating with Russia still makes any sense?
Well, in fact, I believe, and I spoke to many people in the know, from a Ukrainian military fighting at the zero lines to political analysts and reading on the, say, Institute of Study of War. Pretty much there is one united opinion that Putin only needs a pause to regroup. And if history is teaching us anything, we know that he does not stop with the plans only to regroup and refresh the troops, to mobilize more, to train more, to restock on weapons. And as the 10 years excuse me, please, as the 10 years of the war in Ukraine have shown, the Kremlin is not to be trusted at the table of negotiations. They would like indeed to spread such a narrative, and we see on the information war front that this narrative is being pushed on social media, on the local radio, and the locals in Sumy and Chernihiv region are targeted very heavily by the Russian propaganda, insisting on the peace negotiations. So we can deduce that they indeed need a pause, but we also can predict with certainty that the war will not stop.
So we have President Zelenskyy, who is on this European tour. He's very hard at work in advance of this peace summit that is coming up in Switzerland. He has appealed to Joe Biden and to Xi Jinping to attend. What are your thoughts of the impact of this tour, what we might be able to expect at this summit? What if China does attend? What if China doesn't attend?
That's a very hard question. I'm reporting from the ground in Sumy and Chernihiv Oblast, but I just went to Europe indeed. I went to Italy and I went to Berlin. I was speaking to the members of parliament in Bundestag, so I get somewhat of an idea of the diplomatic effort. I know that it's really important that politicians are indeed people. There's a human factor to it. And if President Zelenskyy is able to show that there is in fact genocide of Ukrainians happening right in the heart of Europe, and that needs to be stopped by the global community, if by showing the images that we had just this last week. Everybody's seen some photos from Kharkov, but not many people have seen what I'm seeing here now, say in Sumy border villages, where the whole villages are being destroyed. It's called the scorched earth strategy, where no infrastructure is left, no schools are targeted, libraries are targeted, civilians are killed, ambulances are being hit. Just today in the village of Krasnopilia, where I was yesterday, 2 civilians were killed by yet another Russian attacks, which are daily, if not hourly. If indeed President Zelenskyy is able to show what is going on and convince the politicians that the united effort is needed, there could be some fruitful results. As for China, I might not be in a good position to comment. I'm not an expert on China, but just knowing from the overall reviewing of news, we know that China has a lot of interest in Russia. They have really good working relationship just based on Putin's visit to China, for instance. And indeed, I'm right now researching a story in which some Chinese parts have been found and discovered in the weapons that are being used by the Russian military against Ukraine. So there's certainly a rich subject to explore.
So that's also very concerning news there. One quick question before we actually conclude our interview. What would you say is the mood on the front lines? We're talking about, politics, we're talking about the upcoming summit in Switzerland. What about ordinary Ukrainians, especially in these affected areas? How do they see Ukraine's chances of prevailing?
Well, thank you so much for asking about that, because I feel that it's probably more important or as important a subject. In fact, I see very high morale in villages and towns that have been targeted on and off for the last 2 and almost a half year. There are flags everywhere. And this is not just a matter of external show of patriotism. Anyone I speak to is eager and ready to confront the aggressor. There is no mood to surrender in any way. There were a couple of opinions from very elderly and sickly people in the villages where the Russians have hit the television towers and radio towers of Ukraine. And so there are only Russian channels and Russian propaganda, I should say, channels broadcasting there. So there I heard from a very like a lady in her 80s in a church that perhaps maybe negotiating are needed, but she was very proud to be Ukrainian and at the same time was ready to fight. And there was this elderly gentleman who was very eagerly sharing conspirology theories, quite absurd. I'm not going to reproduce them there, but they are very easily recognized Russian Kremlin narratives that we see also on X platform, on Facebook, on Telegram channels, where the Kremlin trolls are pushing them. So despite the information war campaign, very active, the Ukrainians still know who they are. They keep their identity and they are not in any way ready to surrender.
So the people of Ukraine stand unbroken despite all the Russian war crimes happening across the country. Zarina Zabrisky was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you so much for having me.